Trees make cities beautiful, and research says a well-targeted campaign is one of the smartest investments cities can make. As the world adds about 2 billion people this century, developmental challenges increase. On today's edition of the Nigeria Property Show, we will look at tree planting as one of the most crucial parts of urban sustainable strategies. Good morning and welcome.
Governments in world key cities continue to explore ways to look for a good mix of green infrastructure, transport, in between the mix of bridges, more roads, and infrastructure. But all of this needs to be well done in a way that natural environment would also be preserved. Today's edition of the Nigeria Property Show is dedicated to look at tree planting investment, a smart city strategy. To educate us on that is ABIODUN. ABIODUN is an environmental conservationist. He is also passionate about landscape architecture in the mix of the real estate sector. Good morning, ABIODUN.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm very fine, thank
now,
you.
Tell us, what exactly is the dynamics of green infrastructure within the global infrastructure development?
Countries like Nigeria and then states like Lagos State who are passionate about making waves in terms of building a smart city are already looking for ways to go green. And it's a very, very important thing regarding the development of any nation to understand the importance of natural ecosystems. How
do cities prioritize green infrastructure in the mix of building more bridges and roads and improving transport?
These trees on the road and in public places play much more roles than for aesthetic purposes. Many of them serve as windbreakers. If the government tries to understand the roles of these trees and other plants, they will know how important it is to conserve them while still achieving the aims of building infrastructure.
Now, you are an environmental conservationist in the mix of architectural work. How can architects help drive this vision?
Major architects or some architects are already seeing the need to involve environmental conservationists in architecture, apart from having landscape architects. The roles of these environmental conservationists are to help to look at the impact of particular projects that they want to carry out in particular areas, the impact of these projects on the environment itself, and future impact of that particular project. And then they try to recommend ways in which they can still carry out their project while not interfering with natural ecosystems.
If Lagos is 24 million right now, before this year runs out, it's likely Lagos moves up, getting near 25. More younger people will move into Lagos. So Lagos State is probably projecting already before the end of this year, this particular road will need to be expanded. It's already in the master model plan. A particular highway should be expanded and even have a flyover. So in the mix of all that, how should the state government go about it?
It's a normal thing for states to build larger roads, to expand their roads and everything. But also important it is to look at the existing, the effect of this particular projects that they want to carry out. For example, if they're going to expand a particular road or construct bridge in a particular area. Now, the first thing is to look at the existing road, to have a critical look at the existing road, look at the fauna and flora of that particular road. Okay, what are the particular plants, animals present in that particular area, and how much effect will expanding the road have on these particular things. So if you're going to build road if you're going to expand road and there are particular trees, plants that we do not want to tamper with, definitely we're not saying that we should not cut them down. Definitely some of them might end up going down. But for every tree that is going down, there should be provision for more trees that will be planted, like trees that will be planted, because the effect of one tree going down on the environment, on the immediate environment alone, cannot be quantified.
What are landscape architects doing with other build professionals to start some kind of quiet revolution so that we can have more green buildings?
Another focus of landscape architects, apart from planting of trees now especially, is looking at other ways of making existing buildings where trees cannot be planted to still have green areas. For example, we have green roofings nowadays, green roofings, planting some particular species of plants that can grow on roofs, that can grow on walls, climbing plants, vines, and other things. All these little things, they help to prevent, to control pollution. The city is polluted. Definitely, if you get to the city, there are cars, lorries everywhere releasing pollutants, carbon monoxide, especially carbon dioxide too.
Carbon gases.
Yes, carbon gases. And trees help to take in these carbon gases and then release oxygen. Vertical landscapes do not only use trees. Apart from using trees, they use climbing plants, which can be grown on walls, which can be grown on roofs. So it's another way of going green. Fusing the green spaces with our buildings will help achieve some of the sustainable development goals which the UN has set.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ABIODUN. We just listened to ABIODUN ADEDAPO. They are enlightening us on the very important need to prioritize tree planting as a vital infrastructure for the growth of the real estate sector. On Property Law and Secrets this week, we'll analyze the tree felling aspects of the Lagos State Parks and Gardens Agency Law of 2011. To educate us is BILIKISS ABIOLA. BILIKISS ABIOLA is an entrepreneur and innovator, which was why she founded the We Cyclists Corporation in 2012. Before she was appointed as General Manager, Lagos State Parks and Gardens Agency, where she has continued to transform the landscape of Lagos State by beautifying open loops and spaces. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Property Law and Secrets. So today, because we're also looking at the commemoration of the Tree Planting Day in Lagos, we want you to educate us better on the tree felling aspect of that LASPAC law. What aspect of that law actually gave birth to LASPAC?
LASPAC has been in, since the law was established in 2011, LASPAC has been in operation. And even before the inception of LASPAC, if you look at the physical planning laws, there is a law that says that any compound or property must have at least 30% green cover within the residence. So that means that if you go into any home or commercial property, there should be at least 30% green in the form of trees, grass, and things like that. And before in the past, Lagos was known for being a very green and lush state. But because of quick and rapid development, a lot of the green cover was lost. A lot of trees were cut indiscriminately, and Lagos basically found itself in a situation where it was losing its beautiful nature. It also was a big problem in terms of climate change and in the environment. So the government decided to be proactive and create the Lagos State Parks and Gardens Agency. And the job of the agency is to really follow through on this physical planning law and ensure that the whole of the state is green. What do we mean by that? That means that, number one, we have established, as part of the LASPAC law, a day, which is July 14th, which is the tree planting day. It's in the law. And that means that, all through the state, in all local governments, there must be a tree planting ceremony on that day, and trees must be planted. We must give out seedlings to people and encourage them to plant trees. And as an agency, we try to explain to people that, by cutting these trees does not solve the problem. You can actually do some remedial measures, like trimming the trees, trimming the roots, and that will reduce the nuisance of the trees, but it would also ensure that the environment is protected.
How much of this law does the people know? Do the people really know this law? Are they familiar with this law?
So I believe from my experience as the general manager of LASPAC that people still have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do in terms of sensitizing people and increasing the awareness level. Many of us have traveled abroad and we've seen how beautiful and lush and green. But one thing that we all have to understand is that society can only be as good as how people follow the laws. You travel abroad and you see somewhere is green and there are trees there. The reason why is because people actually, there are laws and the laws are enforced. But one thing that we have seen at LASPAC is that a lot of people don't understand. They don't, when people start, for instance, we have a team that does monitoring. And when we see that people are cutting trees, we approach them and say, why are you cutting this tree? And they say, because the tree is a nuisance and I want to cut the tree. And then we said, do you know that it's actually a crime to cut the tree? And they don't realize that. So as government, we can either decide to enforce the law, which is, we actually can take them to court because it's a criminal offense that can be, we can charge them to court and they would have to pay fines. Or we can decide to sensitize people. So when we see that those people actually honestly are making a mistake, we try to encourage them and let them know that, look, you're not supposed to cut trees. At LASPAC, we're working on doing a massive awareness campaign in the form of, going to areas where we see that people are maybe constructing homes and they're not following the greening law. We would actually stop them from the construction and ensure that they incorporate green into their property before they are allowed to continue.
Now, exactly. I wanted to ask you, how does LASPAC, through your own office, collaborate effectively with the Ministry of Physical Planning or its department that is in charge of building control?
So we have counterparts in various agencies. For instance, at LASPAC, we have somebody from the Ministry of Physical Planning that is posted here. And that person is actually an expert here and helps us to have an effective synergy with that ministry. And so we work with them. But in essence, our job is to enforce the green cover aspect. And because those are the things that will protect us. Those trees, the grass, all those things, they will protect us. And more, furthermore, they will actually help us, as real estate investors. They will help us to improve the value.
Exactly. I wanted to ask
Thank you.
How exactly does green infrastructure determine the value, the vibrancy of the real estate sector?
Yes, green infrastructure is something that actually adds value to the value of any real estate property. You will see that the new developments that are coming up, they incorporate green. We have people that have homes that are being built that are LEED, which are, that's the low energy, these are things that are homes that are built with energy consumption, renewable materials and things like that. So if you want to be an astute investor, you want to be an investor that can command higher than average returns on your investment, it's imperative on you to invest in greening.
How does LASPAC bring this law to bear, this very important law to bear for land is oil of Lagos?
Yes.
And investors continue to come.
Yes.
They're trying to bridge that housing deficit.
Yes.
So how does LASPA bring this very important greening law to bear for those who are looking out to invest in the real estate sector?
You know, so like you said, land is oil in Lagos, and that's it's a resource it's like oil actually, that it's not a renewable resource. You know, to an extent, the amount of land that we have in Lagos is very limited. And if we want to be sincere, there needs to be a portion of that land that is set aside for green. So we have the wetlands, we have those areas that must be off limits. So investors should not, you know, invest in property that is a wetland area that is set aside for conservation.
Now I want to ask you, does the environmental law prioritize greening as a vital infrastructure?
Absolutely. You mentioned Singapore. Singapore is a work in progress. It's still a work in progress. And it took Singapore 50 years to get to where they are now. So, you know, I think that we can actually achieve that and even more with the right amount of, you know, vision and execution. I think Lagos State prioritized green. We really prioritize greening. It's something that the state government takes very seriously. You know, just last year, within 2 days, the government commissioned 2 state-of-the-art urban parks. One is the Johnson Jakonde Tinubu Park here in Alausa, and another one is the Rafiu Jafojo Park. We have other parks under construction and under rehabilitation, and the governor is very, very, very passionate about creating more parks. And what that does is that, you know, once we are able to create, and you know, the government is providing a platform. You know, we are providing a platform and a template. So we are going to various communities, from Agege to Lekki, from Ikorodu to Ojo, and we're looking at creating all these beautiful green areas.
So, what's your message to the people of Lagos? How much of this law do they know? You had already talked about increasing awareness, but enforcement is also going hand in hand with that awareness. For those that violate the law, let me ask you to repeat the focus of that law and what happens to those who violate this law. So
the law it's a very rich law. It's a very rich law. It's very full of various things. You know, for instance, people are not allowed to urinate in parks. So there's a penalty for that. I think it's about 20,000 naira. You cannot drive a car onto and park on a median. It's against the law. It's actually a 50,000 naira fine. If a car is found on the median, you know, we actually impound the car and people have to pay the fine. Roaming animals are not allowed, because you see some people with goats and cows walking around the gardens. You know, that's something that we take very seriously, and we actually seize those animals and donate them to orphanages. But in terms of the greening law is, if for instance someone doesn't have the proper green cover, there is a recourse. So we give them a beautification notice. We write them a notice. It's called a beautification notice that we give people, and we tell them, please beautify your home. And then if they don't comply, we now can take them to court. No matter if the tree is in your home, in your property, if you were the one that planted the tree, or if you met the tree there, you cannot cut the tree without permission of the Lagos State Parks and Gardens Agency. You must write to the Lagos State Parks and Gardens Agency seeking permission. We will then come assess the situation and then decide if the tree can be felled. If it's something that we feel needs to be done to save lives, to save property, or if it's maybe a construction that is being done that maybe the tree is blocking the construction, we may look at those cases on a case-by-case basis. In some instances, we actually have machines. These are called tree transplanting spades. We call them Big John. 3 big machines that can actually transplant those trees. You know, so for instance, if you feel that, okay, you want to construct something and there's a tree there, instead of cutting the tree and losing the invaluable tree, if you write to LASPAC, we may be able to help you move that tree and save the tree's life. So the green cover is very important for real estate to flourish, because you cannot have real estate where a place where everywhere is just covered with development. There's no green, there's no parks, there's no trees. It's not going to work. So there has to be a cohabitation, and at LASPAC we're creating that balance. We're ensuring that the balance is, is protected.
Thank you very much for
sharing
your
my
knowledge
pleasure.
with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just listen to BILIKISS ABIODUN educating us on the interrelation of greenery, a beautiful, serene, green environment for a vibrant urban sector. It adds more value to the economy, it enhances the quality of life, and it's a must-do. If you're a developer, if you're looking at building your personal home, you must consider and make it a priority to look at landscaping some areas in your environment for a better life. The Nigeria Property Show continues. Please stay with us. Flower vases. A flower vase is an open container and can be made from several materials such as ceramics, glass, aluminium, brass, and bronze. Flower vases are used to decorate every part of the house with different species of flowers, making unique additions to the decor of the home or office, as they come in lovely colors, shapes, and sizes. They beautify the home when holding fresh flowers, while also impacting positively on our well-being.
I hope you now understand that trees do not just occupy space. They increase the value of real estate, help mask concrete walls and parking lots, while providing privacy for properties. With these benefits, it is expected that government will work closely with communities, professionals in the built industry, civil society on massive urban afforestation towards livable cities. Thanks for joining us. I am ADEDAPO.